Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again for another episode of the Magnificent Seven Rides Again. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to have with me Nancy Huffman. Nancy, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having us today.
Nancy, could you tell the audience who the Magnificent Seven is and what is the Magnificent Seven Rides Again?
Oh, that started out as just there's 7 of us, of course. So it just started out, we were trying to come up with names. And of course, we were tossing around this and it sounded kind of silly at first, but it really stuck. And it's really been a good thing too, because it really made a connection with a lot of people. They can remember our group and they say they've seen our posters and they really enjoy the whole story behind that.
So, what was the original Magnificent Seven show?
Oh, it was a movie with all those big stars of I don't even remember what decade it was, but, the Western kinda theme, all
Actually,
that was
what
fun.
was the original Magnificent
Oh,
Seven art show?
the art show itself, okay. Last year was our first one, and we had that at the Kerrville Arts, Culture Center, and we took up the big gallery in there. And so we each had a portion of the wall. So it was really great because some of us did like assorted kind of pieces and some of us did thematic type work specifically for the show. So it was a little bit different for each of us. And we'll probably do that a little bit differently this year too.
That brings us to the Magnificent Seven Rides Again show.
Mhm.
Can you tell us when that is and where that is?
It begins in September, and I'm sorry, I don't recall the specific date right now, about
I
mid-September
think it's the
is when it
12th.
opens, okay, and it goes for a month, and we will have a reception at that as well, and again, I don't recall what the date is, but, it would be on the calendar for the Kerrville Arts Center, and we'll be doing roughly the same types of things that we did last year, just still the 7 of us in the same big room, so we have lots of space, so I figure we'll probably each have at least 12, 15 pieces of work that we have there.
You maybe give us a teaser or hint of some of your pieces.
This year I mean, last year I did thematic, and I did it all on the river, and this year I'm doing ranches and, domestic animals, things like that, cows, and I've even got a donkey, which was my husband's nemesis. So it's from an old family photo, so
My wife loves donkeys, so you may
mhm.
see her again.
Okay, good.
I'd like to change the focus just a little
Mhm.
bit. I know a little bit about your story, but can you tell our audience about when did you get the art bug? When did the passion hit you? How did it hit you? Just tell us about that.
It was always there. I mean, even grade school. I was in school during the time we really didn't have art classes, it was just always a part of the daily activities that you did with math class and science and whatever. And the first thing that I remember was, and seems kind of silly now, it was we were making dogs or animals anyway out of oatmeal boxes and putting tissue paper all over it, which that's pretty much what I remember. That's kind of what ignited me. And yeah, I also remember seeing when I moved to a different school a few years later, and one of the older girls had done a magnificent horse rearing up. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I want to do that. And finally, I think about in 6th grade, we were finally able to get in a rotation 6 weeks of art during that year. And would you know it, I broke my arm right before that. But I still did it with my left hand. It was fun.
So tell us about junior high, high school, and into college and your passion around art.
It was still always there. That's what I did. I mean, I was in band and other things as well that artistic and did the usual schoolwork, but art was my special time. That was what was really amazing to me. And I did a few things, did a few contests, got a scholastic honorable mention when I was in high school. So that really spurred me on. So when I went to college, that was exactly what I wanted to do. I knew it from day one.
So, what type of art do you specialize in now?
I mostly do oil painting. I still love to do drawing. I still do a little bit of acrylic and some watercolor too, but primarily oils. And that was one of the first things that I learned to do as a teenager too. When again, we didn't have art in school, but we got to go to the community center, and so I took art classes with little old ladies, the
S
only kid in the room.
so one of the things that struck me about last year and the Magnificent Seven was
Mhm,
families who would come in with kids,
mhm,
and whether it's an 8-year-old girl or an 8-year-old boy, and this may be the first time they've really seen
mhm,
fine art up close, and that some of the expressions I saw and just the wide-eyed, "Oh my gosh," kind of looks. What do you
mhm.
say to that girl or boy today?
I mean, and I was a teacher too, so I kinda know that drill, but you can learn to do this if you want to do this, and even if it's not your career, it can still be a fun pastime for you to do, and it's something you can do your whole life. So, I think it's just super important. We're all human beings, and art is one of those art and music, some of those things that tie us all together and remain important to us all throughout our lives.
Do you see the art you paint in your head? Do you paint off a picture? Do you paint how do you create?
It's mixture of all of that. I mean, I do take a lot of photos anytime I go hiking or go somewhere new. I'm always taking photos, and if you looked on my phone, you'd probably think it was pretty odd because there's all sorts of assorted things on there, close-ups of things and faraway views and all sorts of things. But I do take the photos and I'll rework them, move things around. I wouldn't say I see it in my head so much as I start visualizing it as I work through it. Because by the time you get your composition all worked out, then you have to really start thinking about your colors and the moods, the emotion you want to evoke in the art. So it's a process just working through it. And even once you have your initial idea, it still takes some time thinking about it before it actually comes into fruition and you get to the point where you feel like, okay, now I can start it.
Let me ask you about that emotion because I'm a writer and I tend to see the stories in my head
Hmm.
and I'm merely the vessel to get them on a piece of paper through my keyboard, or it used to be a typewriter. But in terms of the emotion, is the emotion your emotion? Is it emotion you want to convey? Is it an emotion you want me to see or
It
feel?
seem because I do primarily landscapes, it's more of an emotion that I get from the place, and I'm sure I mean, we all interpret things differently, but it's the emotion you get from the place. How does it make you feel? Some of it comes from some of the elements that are transient, like weather, or maybe the bugs are particularly vocal when you're there, just different things that will set off different thoughts in your head.
The ability for someone like myself who may look at your art and feel something completely different than either
Mhm,
you felt or
mhm.
even you intended, is that fair?
Totally fair. Totally fair. And I'm sure it's similar with writing too. We don't all see the world or art or anything in the same way, and that's all good because if we all had to see it in the same way, I don't think it'd have as much meaning.
I'd like to turn now to the local Kerrville art scene,
Mhm,
and we have been able to explore that a little bit with our award-winning podcast, the Hill
mhm.
Country Artist Podcast.
Congratulations.
But why is it so important to publicize the local artists? Let me start with that question.
There's a lot of us out there, and I think it's good for us as a community to connect. I think even the community, the part of us out there in the community that don't make art, I think they love to come and be part of it, just exploring what you're doing and appreciating what they see in your work. And I just saw a deer go. I lost my train of thought. It's more than one. Anyway.
Well, let me ask about let me turn to the artist part of
Mhm.
the local art scene. Why is it
Mhm.
so important to you to have other local artists that you can come together with? And maybe the Magnificent Seven's a great example of that.
Oh, it is. We need to be together so we can learn from each other, and art is not I mean, we create it maybe in a singular place. You're in a room all by yourself and you're doing this. Occasionally, you might be working with somebody else, but that's pretty rare. So, we need our community to try new ideas, learn new things, and just connect.
Nancy, if our listeners wanted any more information or how could they find out more about your art?
I have a website, and it's nancyhuffman.com, so it's very easy.
Nancy, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to visit with us, and I look forward to the Magnificent Seven rides again.
And thank you for helping us with this. We really appreciate it.